Happy Canada Day! To all of our Canadian viewers watching, it's also Happy Bobby Bonilla Day. I woke up to tons of tweets and all kinds of emails and messages from people who could not wait to tell me what today was, as if I don't know. We go through this every single year, every July 1st. Yes, it is Bobby Bonilla Day. Bobby Bonilla got his 12th paycheck, ladies and gentlemen, from the New York Mets. He got his latest installment of, I want to make sure I get this right, $1,193,248.20. As he does every year, the Mets so far have paid him in excess of $14 million, and they have a lot more left to pay him. He's going to continue to get that paycheck every single year for the next 13 years to the tune of an additional $15 million plus, all so that he wouldn't play in the year 2000. So Bobby Bonilla, all he's got to do, I wonder at this point, we're so many years in now, technology, the world has changed. I would imagine he doesn't have to walk to his mailbox every day and get the physical check that he then has to bring to his bank to cash in. I mean, they got direct deposit these days. They got fucking Bitcoin, although I don't think he wants to be involved in crypto the way things have been going. But yes, it is Happy Bobby Bonilla Day. We celebrate every year. Yes, we do. This is your Smack Page review for July 1st. I am the Solomonster. It's a new month, everybody. June is in the books. We now begin anew here in the month of July. We have a pay-per-view tomorrow night. I'm going to be back with you live again tomorrow night. It's called Money in the Bank. And tonight was about filling the final spot in the men's Money in the Bank ladder match, which seemed like a relatively easy thing to do. But of course, this is WWE, and so we have to overcomplicate things. We have to drag things out because we have TV time to kill because we don't know what the fuck we're doing. That was the story of SmackDown tonight. But I'm going to not only talk about SmackDown a little bit later on, we're going to talk about Money in the Bank predictions as well. So if you're wondering, am I going to do predictions before tomorrow? The answer is yes. I'm going to do them later on in the stream. Right now, I need you guys to do one thing for me. I need you to hit that like button. So you'll see that little thumbs up. Give the video a thumbs up. Super chats are open. There is a brand new one that I added. You'll find it with the word new next to it in the description down below. And we were having some fun on the stream the other night, on the Dynamite stream, after Blood and Guts. And I don't even know how this happened, but if you ever wanted to see Solomonster rap, I did do the Men on a Mission WrestleMania 10 rap, and I had a few people say, you gotta make that a super chat. So, ask and you shall receive. That is one of the new super chats down below. I don't know if we're going to see it tonight, but it is on that list, just so you guys are aware. It is on there. I want to give a shout out to Chris Young, who just re-upped as a Sound of Legend channel member right here on YouTube. So shout out to Chris. And Chris did that just in the, perfect timing, really, because this coming Wednesday, he's going to be able to join us for our next live watch-along. It is going to be the Canadian Stampede in Your House Tag Team Main Event. This Wednesday, I'll let you guys know exactly what time, probably maybe 1 Eastern in the afternoon. We're going to go live on YouTube for channel members only. Doesn't matter what level or what tier that you're on. And we are going to watch the legendary 10-man tag team main event from the Calgary Saddle Dome with the Hart Foundation against Stone Cold Steve Austin, Goldust, Ken Shamrock, and the Legion of Doom. And one of the greatest matches in WWE history, truly. And we're going to watch it together. So that's coming up next Wednesday. And so if you are a channel member, you will be able to be part of that. And I look forward to seeing you there. So what we're going to do here, we're going to start with Rampage. Why don't we do that? Let's get AEW out of the way. Usually we do it the other way around. But we are going to do Rampage first. And we open the show tonight with the first ever 20-man Royal Rampage match. This was the first Royal Rampage that they have done to determine the first challenger for Jon Moxley's interim AEW World Championship. The announced team tonight on Rampage, we had Jim Ross making a rare appearance on Friday night, along with Tony Schiavone and Excalibur. I don't think this is a permanent arrangement. Typically, you've got Ricky Starks is there, Chris Jericho is there. Ricky Starks was in the Battle Royal that opened the show. And Chris Jericho was licking his wounds and selling the injuries from the Blood and Guts match. And since this was taped immediately after Blood and Guts on Wednesday, it wouldn't have made much sense for Chris Jericho to, after his loss, to go meander on over to the announce desk and sit there and do commentary. So for this week, we got Jim Ross, Excalibur, and Tony Schiavone. I don't believe it's going to be like that going forward. But we had 2 rings. Since, again, this was taped on Wednesday in Detroit. Immediately after Blood and Guts, we had the 2 rings side by side. One ring was designated red. The other ring was designated blue. There really wasn't anything red or blue looking about it. It was just the designation that they gave them. And when the countdown clock would expire every 60 seconds, somebody new would come down to the ring and they would have a certain color designation. So you knew if this person was coming down and there were blue 6, I felt like I was watching a real-life version of fucking bingo here. Blue 6, that would be the 6th man to enter into the blue ring. And so that is how this match operated. We started out with Tony Nese, Powerhouse Hobbs, Darby Allin, and Hangman Adam Page. Those were the 4 men who opened, 2 men in each ring. Darby and Hangman were the only 2 to get an entrance. That's how we went on the air. Ricky Starks was out next. And then the Butcher, Darby backdropped Tony Nese out over the top rope onto Smart Mark Sterling. And then Darby came flying through the ropes with one of his suicide topes. But since he went through the ropes, of course, that meant that he was not eliminated. John Silver was out next. He and Hangman, they did a couple of spots together teasing that Hangman was going to throw him out, but then he stopped short. And John Silver was going to eliminate Hangman, but then he stopped short. Of course, if it was me, I would have kicked him in the nuts from behind. I would have dumped both of them out of the ring. It's a battle royal. There's a world championship opportunity on the line. You do what you got to do. These guys are fotzing around like they're playing games here. This is real life business between these two. They're not taking this seriously enough. Max Caster was out next, and then we had Roosh in his first official AEW match. Roosh was out next. Former Ring of Honor World Champion. And he went after Hobbs and Starks right away. Then he was working over Johnny Hungy. The Blade was out next to join his buddy The Butcher, followed by Penta Oscuro, who gave Roosh a sling blade on the ramp when Roosh came out after him. Shout out to 420 Baked Chicken Con Flavor. Oh my. Ortiz. So Penta gave him a sling blade on the ramp and threw him back inside, came off the top rope, but Roosh met him with a drop kick out of midair. Somewhere in here, John Silver was eliminated. The next man out was Swerve Strickland, who eliminated Max Caster. Shout out to Diarlo, who just became a Sound Off legend. Diarlo, you are a legend here on the Sound Off channel. And hopefully I will see you for the watch along on Wednesday. Keith Lee was next. And it was in a battle royal. Remember, it was a few weeks ago in a battle royal that the issues between Swerve and Keith Lee began when Swerve eliminated Keith Lee. That was the battle royal to determine who would go on to wrestle Jon Moxley, who would then go on to wrestle Hiroshi Tanahashi at Forbidden Door for the championship. That's where things kind of began to degenerate between the two. So I figured, well, here we are again in a battle royal. Surely they're going to continue the story with these two, and they really didn't. They really didn't do much between these two guys in this battle royal. That was kind of surprising, to be honest with you. During the break, though, Matt Hardy came out. Matt Hardy doesn't even get an entrance during the actual show. He comes out during the break. That's how badly he has been screwed over by the actions of his brother, because without Jeff Hardy, what the hell's Matt going to do? Matt's not going to do anything. Where's Private Party, by the way? I was wondering that the other day. I've been talking so much about the Acclaimed that I almost completely forgot about the fact that we haven't seen Private Party. I don't know what's going on with them. All this talk about different people whose contracts are being allowed to lapse, and now they're working on per appearance. I don't know what's going on with Private Party. I don't know if somebody's hurt. I don't know if they're in the back and they just don't have anything for them to do. It's kind of odd that they just have not been making any kind of appearances on TV now in weeks and weeks and weeks. And I was wondering why that might be the case. I'm not sure. But Matt Hardy came out during the break. They came back from the break. At least Dustin Rhodes, he got an entrance. When they came back, Dustin Rhodes made his way out to the ring. Roosh and Penta, they ended up on the apron, and Penta tried to give him a German suplex to the floor, but Roosh lifted his leg for the low blow. And as Penta fell off the apron, he grabbed Roosh and he pulled him down to the floor with him, so both men were eliminated. A very odd, very anticlimactic in-ring debut here in this company for Roosh. Frankie Kazarian was out next. He was blue number 8. Again, I'm just like sitting here like playing fucking bingo here. Like, you got blue number 8, we got red number 6. Kazarian was blue number 8. There were a total, by the way, of 10 men per ring. So that's kind of where we were going with this. Ultimately, there would be 10 in the red ring and then 10 in the blue ring. Matt Hardy was eliminated. Dante Martin was out next as red number 9. And we had Konosuke Takeshita. He was out next, and I love watching this kid. He's so much fun to watch. He hit a double German on Swerve, and Swerve held Darby, took Darby over. So we had the double German suplex spot, and Darby went flying. Kazarian was eliminated. We had 2 entrants at that point in the Battle Royal left to go. Brody King was out next, representing the House of Black. And the final entrant in the Battle Royal, out to Jane by Jefferson Starship, was Orange Cassidy. Brody King dumped out Dante Martin. We got an exchange between Cassidy and Takeshita. And Takeshita went for a jumping knee in the corner to somebody else. He missed. And Butcher and Blade threw him out of the ring. Hobbs and Starks teamed up to eliminate Dustin Rhodes. Swerve eliminated Orange Cassidy. Keith Lee clothesline Powerhouse Hobbs out to the floor. But then Starks sent Keith Lee to the floor himself. And so there was nothing new between Keith Lee and Swerve Strickland, which surprised me. Butcher and Blade dumped out Swerve. Hangman pulled the top rope down. Ricky Starks went flying out over the top, and so he hit the floor. And Hangman started setting up for the buckshot lariat, but Brody King eliminated Hangman. And so meanwhile, while all that's going on in the first ring, in the far ring, Darby Allin got rid of the Butcher and the Blade. And now we were down to 2. We were down to Darby, and we were down to Brody King. And King hit the Cannonball Senton in the corner. They both ended up on the apron. And Brody put Darby in a sleeper hold, and he was basically holding this guy up. And Darby went out, right? So he went out from the sleeper hold. Brody King is holding him, and then he just lets go. And like a sack of trash, Darby just falls down to the floor. And Brody King is the winner of the first ever Royal Rampage Battle Royal. He will go on to challenge Jon Moxley one-on-one for the Interim AEW World Championship next Wednesday on Dynamite. I was not expecting that finish. I'm actually glad that they did that. I'm glad that they threw a bone to the House of Black because they really need it. Even if we all know that Brody King is not going to beat Jon Moxley. I don't think anybody actually believes that for a second. But Brody looked dominant, and he got the win, which is important. Like I said, throw him a bone every now and then. Malachi did not get the win at Forbidden Door in the All-Atlantic Championship match, right? Pac won the championship there. Buddy Matthews right now is out. He's out with an injury. I hope the injury isn't too serious. Hopefully he won't be gone for that long, but that's where Buddy Matthews has been. So then there's Brody King. And at least it's a feather in the cap of the House of Black at a time when they don't really have a whole hell of a lot going on. And so that's part of the reason why. And the other reason I like it also is it's a fresh name for Jon Moxley to get into the ring with. You know, we saw him once in the ring with the other Brody in AEW for the championship. This is a different Brody. This is a match that we have not seen before in an AEW ring. It's something different. It's something fresh. Again, even if the outcome is Very predictable. So I like that. But the other aspect of this, and I have no idea if this is going to lead to anything. It may lead to absolutely nothing. And I think it would be a mistake if this eventually does not lead to something. But I do wonder if it could potentially lead to an eventual trios match where we get the Blackpool Combat Club against the House of Black. We could very well at some point in the not too distant future, when everybody is healthy and everybody is back, we could get Jon Moxley, Bryan Danielson, Claudio Castagnoli against Malachi Black, Buddy Matthews, and Brody King. That is a fucking trios match that I would love to see. That's a trios match that when they introduce trios titles, that could be a championship match in the future. So, of course, we have to get Bryan Danielson back first and healthy, and we have to get Buddy Matthews back and healthy. Can't have a trios match unless those guys are actually back in the ring, which they're not at the moment. But I am hopeful that at some point we will get to see that. As far as the Battle Royal itself, to me, the only difference is there were 2 rings. Otherwise, it was like any other Battle Royal. It was an AEW Battle Royal. A lot of stuff happening, things moving way too quick. Hard to follow everything that was going on because you had the 2 rings. It's one of the reasons I hated the World War III Battle Royals that WCW used to do all those years ago. Some people liked it. I thought it was ridiculous because you could barely follow what was going on. You had 60 guys. Who could follow that? I always hated those battle royals, and this kind of reminded me of that. So maybe that's one of the reasons why I wasn't really a big fan of this. But you could also tell how quiet the crowd was. Up until like towards the end, they started to kind of get into it a little bit. But for the most part, this was a very quiet crowd. And that is the case sometimes when they tape Rampage after Dynamite, but especially this week. I mean, this came right after Blood and Guts. You know that this crowd was exhausted after that Blood and Guts match. So I thought it was very noticeable this week how much more quiet and subdued this crowd was. We had the Young Bucks in a non-title match against the team of Yoshi-Hashi and Hirooki Goto of New Japan Pro Wrestling. We're not done yet with the Forbidden Door. The Forbidden Door, I said the other night, the Forbidden Door, it's cracked open just a little bit. The door is still ajar. The door has not been slammed shut just yet. This was non-title. They called this an eliminator match. Basically, this was their championship contenders match. You always hear WWE doing championship contenders matches where the champion faces the challenger and the challenger has to beat the champion to then get another match with the champion. That's what this was. And again, much like the Brody King and the Jon Moxley match coming up on TV next week, the outcome here was very predictable and was never in doubt. Goto and Nick Jackson began the match. They went back and forth for a little bit. Matt Jackson came into the ring. Goto and Yoshi-Hashi, though, worked over both Bucks. Matt got to do his series of German suplexes. We usually see him do that spot. Nick hit a splash onto the New Japan guys outside the ring. We got our second picture-in-picture break at that point. Goto caught Nick with the Ushigoroshi, and Yoshi-Hashi caught Nick with a super kick out of the second Ushigoroshi for a near fall. Matt and Nick sent Goto to a super kick party that knocked him into the second ring, and then Nick Jackson hit a double springboard jump from the first ring into the second one onto Goto, and the Bucks, in the end, finished off Yoshi-Hashi with a Meltzer driver, with Nick jumping from the second ring into the first. Points for the cool finish. I thought that was a pretty cool finish. And now it is back to Japan for Mr. Goto and Mr. Hashi. Safe travels. We'll see you down the road. We had a promo here, a video package with the Ring of Honor World Champion, Jonathan Gresham, who I'm sure is very excited now that a new Ring of Honor pay-per-view has been announced, July 23rd, Death Before Dishonor. They're running a building. I don't know what the capacity is. It's the Songus Arena. I forgot where it is, what city it's in. But, yeah, they're going to try to get upwards of 6,000 people into that building. That's a tall task. I don't know about the smarts of running a building that big when Ring of Honor is I mean, they barely have a pulse at this point. We still have no idea what the battle plan is for Ring of Honor other than a pay-per-view once every few months. We still haven't heard anything about TV or touring or anything like that. And they're going to go into this building and try to fill it with 5,000 or 6,000 people. Good luck with that. But Jonathan Gresham was cutting a promo. He was talking about being the best technical wrestler in the world. He's going to prove it in a tag team match on Rampage next week. It's going to be him and Lee Moriarty taking on Tully Blanchard Enterprises. The main event was Toni Storm one-on-one with Nyla Rose, who had the always exciting Marina Shafir in her corner. The Problem, as she calls herself. Which I honestly, I can't think of a more appropriate name. She is indeed a problem every time I see her on my TV. They didn't do much before the first. They took the first picture-in-picture maybe a minute into the match, so there wasn't really much that happened before that. Nyla, though, she owned the match throughout the break, missed a cannonball in the corner coming out of the break, and Toni Storm hit the corner hip attack on Nyla. Toni came off the apron with a double DDT to Nyla Rose and Marina Shafir on the floor, so that was kind of cool. She rolled Nyla back inside, came off the top rope with a high cross body that only got a 1 count. Nyla went for the Beast Bomb, but Toni tried to turn it into a sunset flip. Nyla just sat down on her chest. The top turnbuckle peg got pulled off on a separate spot, although I guess it really didn't come into play, did it? Now that I'm thinking about the finish of this match. Toni took Nyla over with a German suplex that got 2. Shafir climbed up onto the apron, but she got kicked off the apron to the floor when Toni went for a tornado DDT in the corner. She kind of kicked off of Shafir and sent her to the floor. And Toni got the win with a pendulum DDT. Shafir attacked Storm after the match until Thunder Rosa ran down to the ring to make the save. She went after Nyla. Toni took care of Marina Shafir. And it came down to Nyla Rose and Toni Storm. They were the final 2 left standing in the ring. And then to close out the show, Excalibur made a comment here. He said that if this keeps happening, if Rosa keeps coming to her aid and these two keep winding up in the ring together like this, we could end up with a thunderstorm on our hands with Thunder Rosa and Toni Storm. We could have a thunderstorm on our hands. And you should have heard the disgust in Jim Ross's voice when he gave him his props and he acknowledged him. He gave him credit for the line. He could not sound any more disgusted. Jim Ross was ready to go to bed. This was past his bedtime. Jim Ross was tired. Jim Ross wanted to get the fuck out of there. But he could not sound any more disgusted at that thunderstorm line than he did here on this show. I was not really impressed with that main event. That's not a knock on Toni Storm. It's more a knock, frankly, on everybody else involved in this match. And but at least Toni got a win coming off the loss at Forbidden Door. That's the best thing I can say about that. So, on the whole, a pretty ho-hum episode, honestly, of Rampage. But I'll say this. There was nothing on this episode of Rampage. Actually, I would say it was good. The action was good. Even, I think, again, everything we saw on here was pretty predictable, especially with the Bucks. I did not think the outcome of the Battle Royal was predictable, but as Battle Royals go, it was all right. But I will say this, there was nothing on that Rampage show that pissed me off or made me feel like I had wasted my time. I cannot say the same for the other show, which I'll get to here in a second. So at least Rampage has that going for it. Now, this Wednesday on Dynamite, we've got a street fight. It's going to be Scorpio Sky defending the TNT Championship against Wardlow. We've got Swerve Strickland and Keith Lee taking on the Butcher and the Blade. Maybe we'll get some story advancement there with Swerve and Lee. Christian Cage and Luchasaurus will appear live. Christian Cage is quickly becoming my favorite part of Dynamite each week. We'll see what douchey outfit he's wearing next week and what promo he cuts. And Jon Moxley will defend his Interim AEW World Championship against Brody King. And so that is your current Dynamite lineup. I see Mr. Ozone in the chat is wishing that he had a beer. Well, you should have planned for this before the night began. I don't know what to tell you. I'm not going to tell you to go leave and go get a beer because you need to be parked right here to listen to me. But if you've got a beer in the fridge, maybe go grab it real quick, right? Pop it open. Got to plan for these things, right? You knew all day long that you were going to be here with me tonight. All you had to do was go out and buy a beer. I don't know what's so hard about that. So we got some breaking news on the Dynamite card. I'm being told here that it is Toni Storm, Thunder Rosa, Nyla Rose, and Marina Shafir. Oh, goody. Wednesday on Dynamite. Oh, I can't wait. So I guess we're getting that thunderstorm after all, aren't we? We're going to get that thunderstorm on Wednesday, it looks like. Great. Well, let's switch on over here to the blue brand because we have to talk about SmackDown. We have to. I don't necessarily want to, but we have to talk about SmackDown. SmackDown opened with 5 of the 7 participants in the men's Money in the Bank ladder match. They were all out there. We've seen this before, where they're all out there standing or sitting, whatever, on top of ladders that are positioned in the ring. All except Omos, who wisely said, fuck that, I'm not climbing these ladders, and he stood next to the ladders instead. Smart man. So they all took turns talking, and Seth Rollins said that they can all agree the best time to cash in is going to be SummerSlam. During the Brock Lesnar, or maybe after the Brock Lesnar Roman Reigns last man standing match. Way to go spoil it, by the way. I mean, it seemed pretty obvious, but do we really need him flat out coming out and saying that, hey, I'm going to cash in? I'm going to cash in during this match, or I'm going to cash in at the end of that match. So he just came right out and said it. Takes away some of the drama. He pointed out that he's already cashed in on the 2 of them once before. Riddle said that when he cashes in, he'll finally beat that bloodline dirtbag, Roman Reigns, and he stared right at Sami Zayn as he said it. Sami Zayn was on a ladder right next to him wearing a bloodline t-shirt. And Sami called all of them vultures and promised to protect the tribal chief from all of them by winning the briefcase. MVP interrupted. He called Sami an idiot, and then he put over Omos as the favorite. Said that he didn't care about Lesnar or Reigns because Omos would be the last man standing regardless. Sheamus said that he would be happy to cash in on Roman Reigns. Remember, he cashed in on Roman many years ago, about seven years ago, I think it was, at Survivor Series. So Seth Rollins is not the only person in this match who has experience cashing in during a Roman Reigns match and becoming champion. So he said he'd be happy to cash in on Roman, but Brock Lesnar was a completely different story. McIntyre said, speak for yourself, because I've beaten Brock Lesnar, and I did it in 5 minutes. Yeah, he did. He did it in 5 minutes. He did it in an empty warehouse in front of no people. All of a sudden, the Miz's music played, and I just thought to myself, what is this? Bad enough we get this shit on Monday, now we have to get him on Friday. So here comes the Miz. He pointed out that he successfully cashed in his last Money in the Bank on Drew McIntyre. He said that he's the only man to successfully cash in Money in the Bank twice and that he deserves to be in that match tomorrow night. He was then interrupted by Ezekiel, who pointed out that he was supposed to be in a Money in the Bank qualifier on Monday with Kevin Owens, and so if anybody deserves to be in the match, it's him. And for those wondering, what is going on here, because wasn't Kevin Owens supposed to be in this? What happened to KO? KO is not injured. Whatever it is that he's dealing with, it's minor. So whether he got hurt or it's an illness or there's whatever going on, maybe you got a rash on his head, who the hell knows? Whatever it is, it's said to be minor. He won't be gone for very long, but obviously he was not ready to be back in time to be in a Money in the Bank qualifying match. So that is the status of Kevin Owens. There's an issue, but it's a minor issue, and he'll be back very soon. And it's too bad because, he has experience being in these kinds of ladder matches, and he would have made a fine addition. I'm sure he would have qualified. I'm sure that spot was very likely going to go to Kevin Owens, and now it's not. Happy Corbin walked out. He said he knows a thing or two about getting lucky in Las Vegas, so he should be in the Money in the Bank match. And then Madcap Moss interrupted and said that he should get the final spot in the match. So we had the parade of people coming out laying claim to why they believe they should be in Money in the Bank. That brings out the next moron. Here comes Adam Pearce. Here comes WWE official Adam Pearce. And he says that what we're going to do tonight is we're going to have ourselves a good old-fashioned battle royal. And that wasn't just something that he threw out there because this is WWE. So everything has already been workshopped and everything has already been planned and meticulously planned. Every word, every nickname, everything. Nothing is organic on this show. They called it a good old-fashioned battle royal. When they came back from break, the graphic on the screen said good old-fashioned battle royal. The announcers drove it home. Good old-fashioned battle royal. I said nothing is organic on this show. Everything is pre-produced. Everything is pre-planned to a T. So we had ourselves a good old-fashioned battle royal. Now, I just assumed, and this was the tweet that I initially put out when I mentioned that they were doing this battle royal. I naively thought that when we came back from break, there would be a battle royal involving the 4 men who just walked out, laying claim to that 7th and final spot in the Money in the Bank match, right? Although I thought it was kind of strange you would do a battle royal with 4 people. But I figured, okay, whatever. This is how they've chosen to pick the 7th person, right? So we come back from commercial, and not only are the 4 men in the battle royal, but the men who have already qualified for Money in the Bank. Drew McIntyre and Sheamus and Sami Zayn, all of them. Seth Rollins, they're all in the battle royal too. Omos, they're all in the battle royal. So now I'm confused. They've already qualified for Money in the Bank, which is 24 hours away. Why the fuck are they in a battle royal? Mixed in with people who are not in the Money in the Bank match. What sense does that make? Now I'm waiting to see what Michael Cole is going to say about this. And at no point during this battle royal did they clarify or did they say, oh, this is not for the final spot. Or, well, if one of the other 4 guys wins, they'll get the spot. But otherwise, it's just a regular battle royal. He said, no. This is a battle royal for supremacy, he said. It's exactly what he said. This is a battle royal for supremacy in WWE. Supremacy in what? What is it? What does that mean? Supremacy in WWE. Does the winner of the battle royal get to be the new interim CEO? Are they going to bounce around and we'll have like new interim CEOs every week, the way we used to have guest hosts on Raw? So this week, Stephanie gets to be the interim CEO while her father is under investigation. And then next week, Baron Corbin could be the interim CEO. And we'll go through this every week. What does that mean? Supremacy in WWE. They didn't explain. They said supremacy. They threw around words like momentum, building great momentum going into Money in the Bank. All I'm doing is watching this going, this is a waste of my fucking time. This is the most pointless battle royal that I have ever seen in my life. Plus, you'll notice they had to get the jump on AEW, which already had a battle royal in the can, right? Now, they did their own battle royal already on Raw Monday night. So it's not like they haven't done this before. But before we got the AEW battle royal, they gave us our own good old-fashioned battle royal. 3 battle royals in 1 week, that's too many battle royals. So we had 2 of them tonight. One of them at least made sense, and you knew what was on the line. That was never in doubt. This one, I had no idea what was going on. So we had ourselves a good old-fashioned battle royal. Ezekiel was eliminated first by Omos, who also dumped out Madcap, and then he dumped out The Miz. Rollins eliminated himself rather than have to face off with Omos. I guess Rollins wasn't all that interested in building momentum. Boy, Seth Rollins, I guess he wasn't all that interested in supremacy in WWE, because Seth Rollins actually has a functioning brain in his skull, and he said, I'm already in Money in the Bank tomorrow night. Fuck you. I'm leaving. I'm not going to let you injure me. I'm not going to let you cripple me. I'm not going to let you throw me out of the ring and possibly injure me. Fangu. And he left. Smart man. The only one with a brain on this show. Riddle then gave him an RKO on the floor. Omos reached down, he grabbed Riddle, pulled him up on the apron. Riddle applied an armbar in the ropes to Omos and was trying to drag him out over the top rope. Drew McIntyre and Sheamus, they come up from behind Omos and they dump him out of the ring heading into the first commercial. So that gets rid of the Giant, right? He's out of the picture. After the break, Sheamus sent Riddle onto the apron and then he landed a rising knee to eliminate Riddle. Sami Zayn accidentally took out Corbin with a haluva kick. McIntyre, he tried for a Claymore, but he was intercepted by Sheamus and a brogue kick. He tried to eliminate McIntyre, but he missed the second brogue kick attempt. McIntyre landed a future shock DDT on Sheamus. Sami Zayn tried to ambush McIntyre, but he ate a brogue kick for his troubles, and Sami was eliminated. And so Sami got dumped out to the floor. Sheamus and McIntyre, they got tied up near the ropes, and here comes Happy Corbin, who was lying in wait, right? They wanted to make you forget that he was still in the match after he was taken out by that haluva kick earlier. Here comes Corbin. He sneaks in, and he eliminates McIntyre and Sheamus to win the Battle Royal. And boy, was he happy. He was celebrating. He was eyeballing Pat McAfee at ringside. We never did get an answer, by the way. He was asked later in the show. We still don't know what his answer is going to be for SummerSlam and Pat's challenge. I mean, we know what the answer is going to be, but he didn't actually give us an answer tonight. But he's celebrating, right? And this was a battle royal, they said, again, for momentum. Baron Corbin. So I want you to think about this. I want you to think about what we just saw. We just saw a battle royal involving men who are not even in the Money in the Bank match tomorrow night. The person who won the battle royal, as of this moment, during this portion of the show, is not in Money in the Bank. He wins a battle royal, and they talk about how he's building momentum with that win. Momentum for what? We're never told. Not even a mention of the possibility that he may have just qualified for Money in the Bank. The announcers don't say a word. He's got momentum. What the fuck? He's got momentum. So I don't know what else to say about this battle royal other than it was a gigantic fucking waste of our time. That's what this was. There is no company in the world better than WWE at wasting time. They kill time better than anybody else. They do it every week. They do it on Mondays. They do it on Fridays. We see what they do, especially on Mondays, right? They're going to send people out for the main event. It's 10:32 during the third hour of the show, and here comes so-and-so making their entrance for the main event. I guarantee you the bell for the main event will not ring until it is almost 10:50. And you might ask yourself, well, what are they doing in those 17 minutes? They're dragging things out. They're killing time. Nobody does it better. You'll have one person make an entrance. They'll go to commercial. They'll come back from commercial. There'll be a backstage segment. We'll go to the announcers. They'll talk about Make-A-Wish, or they'll talk about whatever charity they're working with that month, and that's nice. And then they'll cut back to the arena, and then there'll be some other segment. Then there'll be another commercial, and then somebody else will make an entrance, and then they'll come back, and then boom, it's 10:48. It's time for the main event. Nobody does it better. That's the best compliment I can pay them. Nobody wastes our fucking time better than WWE. And that's what they did here. That's all this was. This was filler. They didn't know what to do. They had all week to come up with some kind of a great creative plan for SmackDown, and this is what they came up with, a battle royal for momentum to waste everybody's fucking time. But it gets even better when you find out what they did later in the show. So back from break, Kayla Braxton is in the back. She's interviewing Corbin. And he's celebrating his win. I don't know what he's so happy about, but apparently he's a really happy guy. Hey, he's Happy Corbin. It's in his fucking name, right? So he's really happy. And he says he's so happy that he could fart rainbows, which there's a visual for you. When you go to bed tonight, you're going to be thinking of Baron Corbin farting rainbows. Kayla asked about McAfee's challenge last week, and he went silent. He didn't give an answer. So then we move on. Again, still no answer as to who's in the Money in the Bank match tomorrow night. We move on. we got a video package recapping the entire feud between Ronda Rousey and Natalya. And then we come back live in the back, and Natalya is being interviewed about her big championship match tomorrow night. And she said that all Ronda has is talk, and she criticized her looks and her charisma, but she's seen Ronda Rousey's movies, and now she knows why Hollywood isn't calling her anymore. She said that she would take Ronda down, apply the sharpshooter, and be the first woman to make Ronda Rousey tap out. Natty said that she could hold the SmackDown Women's Championship for the second time, and Ronda could go back to holding her 10-month-old baby. We had the New Day against the new vicious Viking Raiders. That's how they're being announced now when they come out. The new vicious Viking Raiders. Kofi said that they were there to entertain the audience last week with Shanky. There was no Shanky, by the way, on the show tonight. There was no Shanky. So they were there to entertain until the Viking Raiders ruined it. They acknowledged that these were the new vicious Viking Raiders. And Wood said that it was time for them to get dangerous too. Kofi told them to get their Asgards out here. Raiders then made their entrance. They were announced as the new vicious Viking Raiders. And in case you didn't know that they had a nickname, Kofi and Woods mentioned it. The ring announcer mentioned it. And they were sure to mention it no less than 10 times on commentary. So there's no way that you can watch this show and not know that they are the new vicious Viking Raiders. The Raiders used their these wooden shields that they had to attack Woods. They gave Kofi a double power bomb, and then they they stacked Woods on top of Kofi, and they left. So this was not a match. This was supposed to be a match. This was not a match. This was an angle to build to the eventual match. And as they usually do, they have to beat you over the head with their new name, which just screams uncool. Because nothing on this show can be organic. They're still in a better spot, the Viking Raiders are, than they were a month ago. But again, we all know where this is going. That's why I cannot get excited for any of this. Because this company is so predictable. I can see it. It's like a vision. It's like I should start my own, what do you even call it? It's not a store. But if I told people's fortunes and I was a fortune teller, right? And I had my own shop somewhere in Midtown. And there's Solomonster, and I'm in my robe, and I've got my fucking glass ball, and I had a sign on the window that said, I'll tell your fortune, for $35 or whatever. And people came in, and if the Viking Raiders came in, and I was going to read their palm, I would tell them the exact same thing. In a month, maybe 2, you're going to be right back to where you were before. You're going to be a couple of fucking jokes. So for the next month, they're the new vicious Viking Raiders. The only reason that they're the new vicious anything is because WWE, they need someone to put in there with the New Day. Because they couldn't keep doing the New Day against Butch and Ridge Holland. Butch and Ridge Holland. Ridge Holland and Butch. And sometimes you throw Sheamus in there. How many times can we possibly see that? They had to put somebody new in there. They said, hey, we got these 2 guys. So why don't we start running vignettes for them and we'll pretend like they're brand new. We'll just ignore all the other months and all the other years where we did fucking nothing with these 2. And we treated them like a fucking joke. And now we'll get people that really take them seriously, right? Because now we got black paint on their face and now they're new and vicious. They're the new vicious Viking Raiders. They're the new vicious Viking Raiders. And they'll be really mean and vicious for about a month. And then they're going to be right back to the fucking jokes they were before. How is anybody supposed to get excited for any of this? Please tell me. I would love to know. You and I both know where this is headed. In the back, we had The Miz, we had Baron Corbin, we had Madcap Moss, and we had Ezekiel. They're all in the back and they're all arguing. They're all stating their case as to why they should be in the Money in the Bank match. And each of them gave a reason as to why they should be in that match. Zeke said that it was supposed to be him against Kevin Owens for the spot, and since KO's not here, the spot should automatically go to him. Which doesn't sound like a very convincing argument, although I can understand why he would say that. Corbin accurately pointed out the fact that he just won a battle royal at the beginning of the show, in case nobody's paying attention. They opened the show with a battle royal, and he won. That should have been the end of the argument right there. Adam Pearce should have shut that shit down and said, you know what, you're right. I booked the battle royal and you won. You should be in Money in the Bank. But he didn't do that. Miz said that he was on the Today Show this morning, and he traveled 2,500 miles to be here tonight, so I guess that entitled him to be in Money in the Bank. And then Madcap just smiled and said, I'm just happy to be here. I'm just happy to be here. Adam Pearce then made a decision about what he is going to do. This is WWE management at its finest. Adam Pearce said, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to make a fatal four-way match. And the winner of that fatal four-way match will get the final spot in the men's Money in the Bank ladder match. That's what he said. That's the decision that Adam Pearce made on this show. Forget the battle royal that we had at the beginning. The battle what? What battle royal? I don't know what you're talking about. There was no battle royal. There was only a battle royal in your mind. There was no battle royal. Forget the battle royal. Now we're going to have a fatal four-way. That meant nothing. This match, we promise this match will mean something. This is the creative team hard at work in WWE. The creative team in this company is filled with idiots. This is what they give us. This is what they come up with. This is the great creative that they come up with. This is the fantastic television they come up with. They cannot fill a 3-hour television show. I expect them to do shit like this on Monday. Now it's to the point where they can't even fill a 2-hour television show on Friday. And they have to come up with stupid shit like this to fill time just to get to that final segment. Because I guess they feel like they don't have the talent, or they're just not making great use of that talent. I mean, it's not as if they have no talent in this company. This is the best that they could come up with. We're going to waste your time with one match. That'll be a diversion, though. And then we'll give you the real match at the end of the show. What you saw in the first 30 minutes didn't mean anything. But what you see in the last 30, well, that'll mean something. Maybe. Possibly. So, we have a 4-way match now with the same 4 bickering morons that we saw at the beginning of the night. We then had what was billed as a Raw versus SmackDown Battle of the Brand. Uh-oh, there's that word. Brand supremacy. Brand supremacy, everybody. There's that word again, supremacy. Battle of the Brands. Raquel Rodriguez, Lacey Evans, and Shotzi Blackheart against Alexa Bliss, Liv Morgan, and Asuka. All of the women in tomorrow night's Money in the Bank ladder match, except for one. And she made her entrance, they played her music, and out came Becky Lynch, who was not part of this match, but Becky Lynch did come out. She walked out with a microphone, and she said, you know, nothing important happens until Big Time Beck shows up. And I just thought to myself, you know what? It's tonight of all night. She's right. That's a shoot. Nothing of any importance happened on this show up to this point until Becky Lynch came out. Absolutely nothing. Not a damn thing. And she said, you know, I'm going to go take my seat at the commentary desk and I'm going to watch this match coming up. And boy, she likes to talk a lot when she's on commentary. And that's her job, right? She's supposed to be obnoxious and talk when she's on commentary. But boy, did this distract from the match. I mean, she was just going on and on and on. And just the match just took a total backseat to Becky Lynch on commentary. So the SmackDown team had the early advantage. Shotzi and Lacey Evans, they argued at ringside. Liv Morgan took advantage and took them both out with a suicide dive. Alexa followed up with a cannonball off the apron onto Raquel heading into the break. Bliss fought back. She attempted a sunset flip. Shotzi rolled through into a Boston Crab. Asuka got the hot tag and ran wild for a bit. She knocked Evans off the apron. Liv Morgan hit the recoil on Shotzi for a near fall. Evans rocked Alexa with the woman's right. Asuka took out Evans with a spinning back fist. Shotzi knocked down Asuka and posed on the ropes, and Liv Morgan took advantage of that and hit the Oblivion for the win. After the match, Morgan, Bliss, Asuka, they were all celebrating. Becky Lynch jumped into the ring and she hit a manhandle slam to Asuka while her partners looked on. And that was the end of the segment. So I guess you can cross Liv Morgan off the list of potential winners tomorrow night. Doesn't look like she's going to be picking up the W. As far as who I think is going to win, well, I'll get to that when I do the predictions here in a little bit. We're not there yet. In the back, Sonya Deville told Adam Pearce what he did last week was wrong. And she asked for an opportunity, and he put her in a handicap match last week, and so she filed a formal complaint about what he did, and then said that what you did was wrong, but what I'm about to do is wrong too. And then she slapped him right across the face. Adam Pearce was not having a good night tonight on this show. They made him look like such a fucking geek with these decisions that he was making, and then on top of it, he gets slapped in the face. We had the undisputed tag team champions, the Usos, out next, as were the Street Profits, for a face-to-face segment ahead of their tag team title match tomorrow night. Kayla Braxton was at a podium in the middle of the ring, in between them, and said that they allowed the WWE Universe to chime in and ask them anything. This was a real-life version of a Reddit AMA here in the middle of this ring. I actually thought this was the best thing on the entire show, which isn't saying much, but this was probably the best segment and best promotion for any of the Money in the Bank matches, is what they did here in this segment. The first question was asking the Usos for their thoughts about FTR winning the IWGP tag team titles at Forbidden Door. All right, so she didn't really ask that, but how fucking great would that have been? Now, the Usos were asked if they were fearful of losing their titles and how Roman Reigns would react if they did lose. They said that they are not afraid and that they run all the shows. And Montez Ford said that they know damn well Roman Reigns runs the show. And Dawkins said that the Usos, the only thing they run is to the grocery store. And Kayla asked the Street Profits if they lost their killer instinct after losing at WrestleMania, and asked if they are having problems getting along. She was indicating that there are rumors going around that they are having some issues. And potentially there could be trouble in paradise here between the members of the Street Profits, which is the first I'm hearing of this. And apparently the first they were hearing of it as well. Dawkins wanted to know where she got that information from, and Montez got a little digging at the dirt sheets and said, probably the dirt sheets. Gotta get that dig in there at the dirt sheets. Hey, Bruce. Bruce don't like the dirt sheets. I saw Bruce, by the way, I saw some footage on Logan Paul's TikTok of him at WWE headquarters when he was signing his contract, and they showed a scene where Bruce Pritchard walked into the room. I see Bruce, he's got his arm in a sling. Apparently, I think he had some kind of surgery on his rotator cuff. I mean, did he reach suddenly to grab that cup of coffee for Vince? I mean, how exactly did he injure his arm, I wonder? I'm curious. Inquiring minds would like to know. But Bruce Pritchard's walking around with his arm in a sling. Maybe somebody didn't like the creative that he came up with for them and let him have it. I don't know. I'd like to know the story behind that. So Dawkins said that Montez was his brother. There's no issues between the Street Profits. He's my brother. Ford said that he respected the Usos and their lineage, but they have killer instinct when they're in the ring with the Usos. And he said that in Money in the Bank, their legacy ends and the Street Profits' legacy begins. Eric says he broke his arm patting himself on the back. He probably does watch these shows, and then when they're over, he says, that's a job well done. Maybe he does. He does the old Barry Horowitz pat on the back thing going on here, and maybe he just kind of tore something in his arm. Shit. Maybe, right? Groovy Goose says Bruce hurt his arm from rewriting the show so much. See, so here's the thing. Bruce doesn't actually write the show. Bruce sort of oversees the writing of the shows. I mean, he may chime in with ideas and stuff, but it's not like he's the one sitting there writing out the shows. That's for the peasants on the writing team. He oversees everything. Raw, SmackDown, NXT, all that shit, it all gets funneled through him. So he's not actually sitting there doing any of the writing. It's not like he was writing so much that he had, he got tennis elbow or something. But maybe he was patting himself on the back a little too hard. I like that. See, that I could see. watches this show tonight, hey, let's have a battle royal that just doesn't serve any fucking purpose. What a great idea, right? Oh man, that's a great idea. Fucking idiot. So the Usos said that they actually like the Street Profits, but everybody says that they're just like them and they have the potential to beat them, but they aren't them. They said that they're the Usos and we want the smoke. Dawkins said the Profits would take their tag team titles because the Usos are the twos and they are the ones. So they stole each other's catchphrase, threw it right back in their face. But, they came face to face when it was all over, and I liked this. I actually thought this was a good segment to hype up the title match tomorrow night, and we'll see, if anything comes from that question about dissension in the ranks of the Street Profits. It could have just been something that they threw out there so they could do their little dig at the dirt sheets, but maybe it was a little seed planted for something eventually. I've talked before about how I think there's a singles future for Montez Ford. I don't think Angelo Dawkins has much of a singles future at all. If it's like the Otis and Tucker thing, he'll be the Tucker, and Montez would be the Otis, but I think there's the potential for him to be so much more. So much more, and as a heel, too. I just picture him coming out one day looking like fucking Rico Suave, coming out there with a nice suit and everything. I actually think he and Bianca both together as a heel combo would be fucking money one day. Maybe this is a little seed planted. Maybe they have the same thought that in the not too distant future, maybe there is going to be a breakup, with the Street Profits. I mean, how much more can they do? If they're not going to win the titles, they don't have a lot of teams to work with. They don't have a lot of teams to work with. The Street Profits, they're just kind of there. Unless they really start mixing things up in that tag team division and calling up some new teams and getting some new blood out there that they can work with, how much more can they really do together anyway? And Vince McMahon, he doesn't really see the tag teams as a priority. He probably sees Montez Ford and he sees dollar signs. As well he should. Maybe it's a seed for an eventual split. Then we had Max Dupree. Boy, this show gets better and better. We had Max Dupree, and this time Max Dupree was actually in the ring because they've been stalling now for weeks, right? The lighting isn't right, and this isn't right, and you got to get it right, Adam Pearce, or I'm not going to come out to the ring and I'm not going to introduce my new clients and blah, blah, blah. So this time he was actually in the ring to unveil his newest clients as part of Maximum Male Models. And the crowd was so invested in this that they gave him the what treatment. They whatted this guy down, and he tried to just no-sell it, but they gave him the what treatment. So he introduced his first client, and they actually went with the same people that he's been working with on the dark matches. He introduced Mace as his first client, but Mace is no longer Mace. Oh no. Mace is no longer Mace. Mace is now Mace. So spelled the same way, but it's now Mace. Mace. And he walked out wearing pants that looked like they were painted on and a half-open dress shirt, and he was prancing around on the red carpet, and Dupree was talking about all of his features, his physical features, as he was, because he's a model now, right? It's like Rick Martel coming out and he's got arrogance in his hand. Only Rick Martel actually got over, and Rick Martel actually had success with that gimmick. That was also 30 fucking years ago. And that was Rick Martel, former AWA world champion. He can make it work. So we had Mace, okay? So then he introduced us to his next model. We all know as Mansoor. But no longer is Mansoor. Oh, no. Mansoor. Now we can call him Mansoor. Mansoor is now Mansoor. He walked out with a fanny pack draped across his chest as he walked the red carpet and a bunch of photographers snapped photos. Pat McAfee said that he's never been more titillated in his entire life. Pat McAfee has clearly lived a very sheltered life, which is surprising because he played in the NFL. But clearly he's lived a very sheltered life if this is the most titillation that he has ever gotten. I don't believe him, by the way. I'm calling him a liar. I think Pat has been plenty titillated in his day. So next week, they said that Dupree's new models are going to be back to unveil the 2022 tennis wear collection. What the fuck have they done to LA Knight? He was out there wearing red framed sunglasses. I don't even know what I'm saying anymore. I'm so exasperated. He was wearing eyeglasses, red framed eyeglasses. You know, I know what he's doing. He's doing the douchey talent scout gimmick or whatever it is, the talent agent act. At a time when they are so devoid of talent on this show that they have to come up with segments to try to kill time because they don't have enough time and talent to fill 2 hours of SmackDown. You have a guy like LA Knight who can talk. Not everybody has the gift of gab in this company, but he does. He's one of the people that does, and I know he's on the older side. But in the ring, he can work, but he can talk. At a time when they desperately need more stars on this show, they have him, they call him up, and this is what they do with him. This is what they have for him. We're not going to use you. We're going to try to use you to get Mace and Mansoor over. Mace could be something. I've complimented Mace before. He's got size, right? He's got a good look. Mansoor, actually, in the ring is pretty good. I noticed that when I first saw him working in NXT, back when they were still at Full Sail. Feels like a lifetime ago now. So there's talent there. I can understand the company wanting them to get over. But imagine thinking that the best use of LA Knight is to call him up, to put him in these glasses, to put him in this gimmick, and to have him come out and say, Dupree, and Francois, or Mansoir, and Massey, and Bababe, Abodode, these fucking people are idiots. This is what they come up with for LA Knight. This guy could be a top heel or a top babyface on this show. He could be top 3, babyface or heel. I think he's a natural heel, but he could be either one of those things. At a time when they need more stars on SmackDown. No, we'll use him as a manager for 2 people who we're not going to seriously push. They've tried with these guys before. And it's not for lack of talent. It's for lack of attempts. It's for lack of trying on their part. I can't even blame Mansoor and Mace. It's not their fault. When have they been given a serious chance? Mace, part of Retribution, one of the worst fucking groups in the history of wrestling. Mansoor, they would dust him off every now and then. Oh, it's time to go back to Saudi Arabia. They don't even do that anymore. They've completely lost interest in him. You honestly believe that now they're seriously going to push Mace and Mansoor? Oh man, these 2 are really going places now. They're really going to be something now. Let me tell you, I'm getting a vision. I'm getting a vision. Palm reader Solomonster. I'm telling you, I'm going to start my own fucking business here. I got my crystal ball. I'm looking into the future. I'm going to give you a vision. All right, I'm going to give you a vision. I'm going to give you a look into what the future holds for these 2. Nothing. That's what the future holds. They're dead. It is a dead act. It is going nowhere. But you know who loves this? When this segment was over, you know what this reeked of? Vincent Kennedy McMahon. This is a Vince McMahon specialty. So maybe they'll have that going for them for a while. Maybe it'll be a while before they officially die, okay? Maybe they'll have some life for a while. But within, I don't know if I say a couple of months, 3 months, we can start taking bets, placing our bets here. This is going nowhere. And honestly, I was very surprised by some comments that I saw on social media from people saying, oh, this was so bad, it's good. No, it's not. It's so bad, it's bad. It's so bad, it was entertaining. No, it's not. This is not supposed to make you laugh. They're putting these two guys on TV to try to get them over. The only person that this is going to drag down is LA Knight. They're going to do with him what they did with EC3. They're going to call him up, and they're not going to do a fucking thing with him. And then when this fails, they're going to blame him for it. Because they're putting him in a position where if these two don't succeed, if they don't get over, if they get bored with the gimmick and they stop pushing them, it's going to rub off on him. He's going to take the blame for it. You watch. He's going to take the blame for this. And then all we're going to be left with is Max Dupree, who no longer has his models. Now he's just Max Dupree. Some guy with a stupid name. At a time when they could really use more stars on this show, it is completely preposterous that this is the best that they could come up with for someone like LA Knight. For so long, I said, man, this guy's ready now. They got to call him up. I thought, okay, after WrestleMania, get him up there, right? You could put him on SmackDown. They could use him on SmackDown. Little did I know that this is what they would have in mind for the guy. He could be a great manager. Because like I said, he could talk. I'm not saying he can't be a manager. He could be a manager. He could be a very good manager. But is being a manager really the best use of him at this point? Does he not deserve a shot? He never had a shot. They just put him right into this role. And when this fails, and it will, he's the one who's going to be hurt the most by this. Because they were never seriously going to push Mansoor. Okay, let's just be perfectly honest. He's the one who's going to get hurt by this. And that's the worst part about this whole thing. On top of that, I didn't even mention this part. If these two are going to be a tag team, and we don't know for sure, they could break off and do single stuff, I suppose. But if these two are going to be a tag team, that's yet another heel team on this show. The only babyface team on SmackDown right now is the New Day. If something happens to Woods, if he gets hurt again or Kofi gets hurt, they're fucked. They're fucked. They're going to have to... The new violent Viking... I already forgot their name. The new violent Viking Raiders, they're going to have to turn them back babyface. They don't have any other babyface teams on this show. None. Not one. The Brawling Brutes, Los Lotharios, the Viking Raiders, now these guys, they're all heels. This show is filled with heels. So I don't know who they're going to work with. But that's if they keep them together as a team. We don't know yet. Right now, they're just models. They're just models. Mansoor and Massé. Solomonster. I want you to call me Solomonster. Ronda Rousey was backstage. She criticized Natty for her poor math skills, said that her baby was actually 9 months old and not 10. She said that despite her poor math skills, she could still count on being tapped out at Money in the Bank tomorrow night. We had a fatal four-way for the final Money in the Bank ladder match spot with Happy Corbin, Madcap Moss, Ezekiel, and The Miz. You like that, huh? Solomonster. Sacre bleu. Solomonster. Before the final break, Corbin gave Ezekiel a chokeslam on the announce desk, which did not break, but he did that right in front of Pat McAfee. He was sending a message to Pat McAfee. So Ezekiel was a house of fire. He was running wild until Miz put him down with the skull-crushing finale. Miz went for the pin, but Corbin pulled him out to the floor. And then he hit Ezekiel with the end of days. Madcap, though, snuck back inside the ring. And he posted Corbin's shoulder first in the corner before stealing the pin. And so Madcap Moss has earned the final spot in the men's Money in the Bank match tomorrow night. And Madcap is one of those young guys on the roster who I think could be something. And I don't have any issue with him being part of Money in the Bank, even though, he's not going to win. But I really don't have an issue with him being in the final spot. The way they got there, though, was completely ridiculous. I mean, it truly was bizarre that they thought that this was a good way of deciding who would be in the Money in the Bank spot. Not the fact that they did a 4-way. They could have just done the 4-way and cut the Battle Royal out. Or at least if you're going to do a Battle Royal, don't include the 4 guys who are in the main event. If we want to have a Battle Royal with the guys who are already in Money in the Bank, I don't see what the point of it is, but okay. But make that clear. They didn't do that. They kept it very nebulous on purpose and very vague, and they put everybody in the Battle Royal and they said it's for supremacy. And then only to have Adam Pearce turn around and say, boy, I don't know who should be in this. Who should be in this Money in the Bank match, you know? It's as if we had a Battle Royal and one of you guys won, but, you know, I'm not convinced. So, Corbin, you know, it was nice that you won the Battle Royal, but you know what? I think I'm going to have a 4-way match. Like, these people are, I said before, these people are idiots. They really, truly are. These people are not very bright. But the thing is, they know they can get away with it because it doesn't matter. None of this matters. I think that's one of my biggest problems and pet peeves about wrestling or in particular WWE programming today. They are idiot proof. They make their money. They more or less get the same ratings. They go up and down a little bit, but more or less they know they have their base. They're not going to go below, right? Nothing ever really changes, right? The numbers are generally the same. They're going to get their $1 billion from Fox. They're going to get their $1 billion from NBC. It doesn't matter. Week to week, it doesn't even matter. They could literally have contests in the back, and I wonder if they already do this. I'm starting to think that they do. I think they take bets in the back. How stupid can the idea be that we come up with? Who can come up with the dumbest idea? And we'll put that on TV, and I guarantee you it won't even matter. And they have a contest with each other to see who can out-stupid the other, to see which dumb idea they're going to put on TV this week, because they know none of it matters. And that's what ends up happening, is that the shows come across like nothing matters. There's no consequence to anything. And it all, at the end of the day, is just pointless. And your show should never feel that way. It should never feel like what I'm watching simply doesn't matter and will be forgotten about in a week. That's a terrible way to book your television show. And that's what they do on most weeks. Tonight was one of those examples. A colossal waste of time is what this show was tonight. And not a very good way of getting people hyped up outside of the Usos segment, which I actually liked. Outside of that, not a very good way to get people hyped up, I think, for Money in the Bank tomorrow night. But we do have a pay-per-view tomorrow night. This was a pay-per-view that was originally going to be at Allegiant Stadium, I want you to know. The same stadium where they had 50,000 people last August for SummerSlam. I don't think they were expecting 50, but they were going to try to get at least 30 in that same stadium for Money in the Bank, and they couldn't sell enough tickets. So they were forced to move the show after already advertising it on TV. Remember, Cody Rhodes was standing in the middle of an empty stadium talking about Money in the Bank. And they had to cancel their plans to have the show at Allegiant Stadium. And they were going to move it to the T-Mobile Arena. And they couldn't move it to the T-Mobile Arena. Do you know why they couldn't move it to the T-Mobile Arena? Because there's a UFC pay-per-view tomorrow at the T-Mobile Arena. They decided to book this show the same weekend, the same night as a UFC show. I think it's International Fight Week in Vegas. That's a big thing. It's like their WrestleMania week. And WWE and Nick Khan, for whatever reason, thought that it would be smart to book Money in the Bank on that very same night. So now that they were forced to move out of the stadium, they couldn't even go to the bigger arena because it was already booked by UFC. So now they're in the smaller building, which is the MGM Grand Garden Arena. Now, they're going to be sold out tomorrow night. It is a smaller building. So had they run a bigger building, they could have fit even more people in there, but they couldn't get the bigger building. So they had to settle for the smaller one. So they're going to have about 12,000 people packed into that building tomorrow night. And Money in the Bank at this moment is a pretty hot ticket. You know, whatever tickets are out there on the secondary market, they're going for like $80 a pop or something. And so, you know, it's not like they're not going to have any people in the building, but pretty embarrassing shit that they had to move that show in the first place. So we do have Money in the Bank tomorrow night. There you go. Look at that. Like magic. We get to talk about Money in the Bank now. Money in the Bank predictions. We have the women's Money in the Bank ladder match. It's going to be Becky Lynch, Asuka, Alexa Bliss, Lacey Evans, Liv Morgan, Raquel Rodriguez, Shotzi Blackheart, all in the women's Money in the Bank. Who do I think is going to win? Hey, Darth Panic. What's going on, Darth Panic? I believe he just re-upped as a sound-off superstar. I care too much. That's always been my problem. No, see, you know what my problem is? My problem is I apply logic to an illogical situation. That's my problem. It's always been my problem. It's always been my Achilles heel. I try to apply logic where logic really does not typically apply. But I try to do it anyway because I can't help myself. And it drives me nuts. It's a vicious cycle. It is a vicious cycle, I tell you. Who do I think is going to win the Money in the Bank match on the women's side? Becky Lynch would probably be most people's favorites. I'm going to go in a different way. I'm going to go with the woman who I said was my early favorite all those many weeks ago. I really haven't changed my mind. And I believe still that Lacey Evans is going to win the women's Money in the Bank match tomorrow night. I mean, look, I think how do you not go, right? If you're WWE, how do you not go with the former Marine on 4th of July weekend, right? It's just the story is there for them. And I don't know if the plan is still ultimately for her to go heel or not. It looks like whatever plans they may have had for her, it looks like have been abandoned. But I think that Lacey Evans is going to win Money in the Bank. I'm sticking with her as my pick. I think they give it to the Marine on 4th of July weekend, and she takes the briefcase. We've got the undisputed WWE Tag Team titles on the line. Usos defending against the Street Profits. We've seen this before. We've seen tag matches. We've seen singles matches. It's hard to get excited, but you know they're going to end up having a very good match. So that's something to be, I guess, excited for. And they had the best segment on the show tonight, which, again, is not, I mean, it's not saying much. It's like being in school and everybody in the class fails the final exam, right? People get like a 20. Frost in the chat, he gets like a 17. I see Shin Akuma, he gets like a 34. Where's Food Hive? I don't know if Food Hive is with us tonight. He probably gets like an 8. Everybody gets these horrible grades and horrible scores. But then that one person, they failed too. But they got like a 60, right? All right, so you got higher than everybody else, but is it really all that impressive? You got a fucking 60. There's nothing really to celebrate there. That's like me saying that they had the best segment on this television show tonight. I don't think the outcome is in doubt. There's no way the Usos should be losing the titles yet. Usos are going to retain their tag team titles. We've got the United States champion, Austin Theory, defending his U.S. title against Bobby Lashley. I don't think Theory is dropping that title to Lashley. Certainly not yet. I think we may end up getting more than one match out of this because I don't know if we're going to get Theory and Cena at SummerSlam. I don't know. You know, after what they did on Monday, and I'm going to talk more about John Cena on the podcast on Sunday and the segment from Raw on Monday night. I'm no longer convinced that John Cena necessarily is going to be wrestling at SummerSlam. Maybe they're pushing things off until WrestleMania. I do think he and Theory are definitely going to have a match. I'm just not sure when now that match is going to be. We're going to know in the next 2 weeks because if they don't announce a match for John Cena at SummerSlam by not this Raw, but the following Raw on July 11th, if they don't make an announcement by the July 11th Raw, then he's not going to be there. I'm convinced he's not going to be on the card. Cena is somebody who moved 4,000 tickets more for Raw this past Monday than they otherwise would have sold. And they're trying to fill a stadium in Nashville for SummerSlam. You don't think they're going to want to announce a few weeks in advance that John Cena has a match at SummerSlam and try to move those extra tickets? So we're not going to have to wait very long before we know whether or not Cena's on the SummerSlam card. Is Theory going to be the U.S. champion if that match does happen? Probably. And I don't even know that the title needs to be on the line if he does wrestle Cena. But I don't think that they're going to take the championship off of Austin Theory. I think they got big plans for him. I don't think they want him losing just yet. And I could see this maybe having some kind of a disqualification finish or a fluky finish that leads to a rematch. So Theory is my pick to walk out with the U.S. title. We have Ronda Rousey defending the SmackDown Women's Championship against Natalya. They're trying. They're trying. They're taking digs at each other about the way they look and plastic surgery and, all this kind of stuff. But, I mean, this does anybody honestly believe the title is changing hands? Of course not. Of course not. Title is not changing hands on this show. We know that. They can try all they want to. They may go in there and have a good match. I'm sure they'll want to go in there and have the best possible match, but it's not as if the outcome is in doubt. Ronda Rousey is going to walk in as the SmackDown Women's Champion, and Ronda Rousey is going to walk out as the SmackDown Women's Champion. Much the same way that Bianca Belair is going to walk in as the Raw Women's Champion against Carmella, and she's going to walk out as the Raw Women's Champion when she beats Carmella. And it is funny how here we are a year later. It's been a year. Bayley got hurt last year. She tore her ACL. She was going to wrestle Bianca at Money in the Bank. The match got canceled. And who was the replacement talent who wrestled Bianca on TV instead for the title? That was for the SmackDown Women's title. It was Carmella. Here we are 1 year later. The only thing that's different is the color of the belt. We go from blue belt to the red belt. The outcome will be no different. Bianca Belair is going to win. Bianca Belair was supposed to wrestle Rhea Ripley on this show, but Rhea Ripley got hurt. She should be back very soon. Bianca wins at Money in the Bank, and they get to do the match at SummerSlam that they were supposed to do tomorrow, which is Bianca against Rhea. Period. End of story. And then we have the men's Money in the Bank ladder match. We've got Seth Rollins, Drew McIntyre, Sheamus, Omos, Sami Zayn, Matt Riddle, and now we know the seventh and final member, Madcap Moss. I enjoyed we have 3 Battle Royals this week on TV, which is 3 too many. I enjoyed the Battle Royal qualifier they had on Raw Monday night. I actually, for the most part, enjoyed that match. Riddle was, I think, the obvious choice to win. But I like that it came down to Riddle and AJ Styles near the end because you could have made an argument for either one of them to win. And then once Miz pulled AJ off the apron and eliminated him, then you knew that Riddle was going to go over. And it's Riddle's only path to a championship match. Because when he lost to Roman Reigns a few weeks ago, the stipulation was that so long as Roman is the champion, Riddle cannot challenge for the WWE Undisputed Universal title. Unless he wins the Money in the Bank briefcase, or I presume he wins the Royal Rumble match, which is not going to happen. I'm just saying if he were to win the Royal Rumble, that would be the only other potential path to him getting a championship match. So Riddle earned his way into the match, but I don't see it being Riddle. I like the fact that there are, I think looking at this lineup, there are 4 names. They have 7 men in the match, right? I look at this and I think that there are easily 4 men who you can make the case could conceivably, believably win the briefcase in Money in the Bank this year. And that doesn't always work out that way. Sometimes there's just one obvious winner. Sometimes there's 2. I think this year you've got 4 potential realistic winners. Let's go through them one by one. Drew McIntyre. Absolutely, Drew McIntyre could win Money in the Bank. Even though he's already called his shot for Cardiff. He's already called his shot for Clash at the Castle. He could win Money in the Bank and then say, I'm cashing in. Labor Day weekend. At Principality Stadium, I'm going to challenge Roman Reigns or whoever the champion is, and I'm going to win the championship. Do I think that's going to happen? No. I don't think he's winning Money in the Bank, nor does he have to win Money in the Bank. He doesn't have to win Money in the Bank to do that. But he could believably win Money in the Bank and could call his shot for Clash at the Castle. Riddle. Yeah, Riddle could win. Riddle is super over. Even without Randy Orton around. He's super over. And I think a lot of people are going to be wanting to see Riddle win because they know it's the only way, it's the only chance he has. If he doesn't win now, he has to wait until the Royal Rumble or wait until Roman loses the championship. It's his only path. And they're in Las Vegas, which is where he's from. I think he's still living there now, actually. So he's probably going to get that big hometown pop when he comes out at the MGM Grand. So Riddle has to be in the conversation as a potential winner for Money in the Bank. Sami Zayn has been my dark horse pick for a while. You've heard me talk about how I think it could be a lot of fun to see Sami win the briefcase and then hold on to it. And he's been saying, I'm going to make sure nobody can cash in on Roman Reigns and take his title away from him. Yeah, he says that now. And, initially maybe he would, for safekeeping. He's going to hold on to the briefcase. But they've been telling this story with him in the bloodline and him being an honorary Us. And he actually believes that they like him and they want him as part of the group. And it could be a slow burn way until he figures out that they're just kind of stringing him along. And maybe it even leads to a Sami Zayn babyface turn. Been a long time since Sami Zayn has been a babyface on TV. There's some fun things that they could do with that story if they gave the briefcase to Sami Zayn. Less likely than someone like Riddle or McIntyre, but absolutely it could happen. I cannot discount the possibility that Sami Zayn could win the briefcase. I don't think they're going to do it. I don't think they have the balls to do it, though. Which leaves me with one other name. And it's the name that I'm going to go with. I think in this case, they're going to go with the obvious choice to win Money in the Bank. And that is Seth Rollins. Seth Rollins has been laying it on real thick, though, which has me second-guessing my choice. It has me wondering if maybe they are going to go with Riddle. But I'm going to stick with Seth. If I had to rank them, though, I'm picking Seth Rollins to win, but I think Riddle would be my number 2. But I think Seth Rollins is going to win Money in the Bank. Seth Rollins went in there and he lost 3 straight pay-per-view matches to Cody Rhodes. He put Cody Rhodes over in the biggest possible way. He lost to him at WrestleMania. He lost to him at WrestleMania Backlash. And he lost to a one-armed man in a Hell in a Cell match. All of their matches were excellent. He had an excellent series of matches with him, just like he did with Edge, right? Rollins in the ring, bell to bell, he's the real deal. We already know that. We know what he could do in between the ropes. But he lost 3 straight matches, and I could see this as the company's way of rewarding him for that by saying, okay, you were a company guy here. You did what we asked you to do. You put this guy over like $1 million, and now he's gone, right? Cody's hurt, and we've got to heat Rollins back up. He can't just keep losing. So you know what we're going to do? We're going to give you the briefcase. And we're going to tease the possibility that there may be a repeat of the cash-in we saw back in 2015 because everything is set, right? Perfectly. The only difference is the stipulation. The match between Brock Lesnar and Roman Reigns at WrestleMania 31 was not a last man standing match. This time it's a last man standing match. But the stage is set for us to have a repeat of what we saw at that WrestleMania. Well, you can't get there unless Rollins goes into SummerSlam in possession of the briefcase. And I think it's very, it's very tempting for them, I think, to want to go ahead and at least be able to tease the possibility that they might do the exact same thing, even if they end up not doing it. So I think that his reward for losing all those matches to Cody is going to end up being a Money in the Bank win. And we had an interview with Cody Rhodes on TV on Monday night. They interviewed Cody at his gym, and he was talking about Money in the Bank, and he talked about Seth possibly winning the briefcase and doing the same cash-in, repeating the same cash-in from all those years ago, and how, he might cash in and he might become the champion, and he would love to be the first person to, what was it that he said? I think he said that something to the effect of, he'd want to be the first person to congratulate him, right? It was almost like his way of saying that when I come back, if Seth wins that briefcase and he takes that title, I'm coming after Seth and I'm taking the championship from Seth. If they get The Rock to come in at WrestleMania next year for a match with Roman Reigns, it's going to be Cody Rhodes against Seth Rollins, I believe, for the championship. So Seth Rollins going in there and cashing in, whether it's SummerSlam, whether it's, in a later date, and cashing in for at least one of those titles, at least the WWE title, although, again, I don't know how they're going to work that because both titles are being defended together. So whoever cashes in presumably would win both belts and not just one. But I think Seth Rollins, he's the favorite for a reason. He's the favorite because I think he's the one who's winning the briefcase this year. And those are your Money in the Bank predictions. We'll find out. It won't take much longer. It's going to be less than 24 hours before we know whether I'm right or wrong. I guess the only question then when you go into SummerSlam is how do they work it? Because you got the last man standing stip. There's no pinfall this time. So if Seth were to cash in during the match, both guys are down. All he would have to do really is just stand there and let the referee count to 10, right? I mean, how is that going to work with a last man standing stipulation? That adds a little bit of intrigue, I guess, to how they would do it this time. They can't do it the exact same way. But I think Seth is going to be the one to win the briefcase. I am going to be live back here on YouTube as I am right now. Tomorrow night, as soon as Money in the Bank goes off the air, all you got to do is look for the thumbnail. There it is. That's our thumbnail for tomorrow night. The Money in the Bank review. Live on YouTube as soon as the pay-per-view goes off the air. Come back here and join me. We'll run down the entire show, the good, the bad, and the ugly, and we'll talk about who the winners are and where things may be heading at SummerSlam. We'll get to prognosticate and fantasy book, and you guys can send in questions and all that good stuff. Again, Ken Demand says, Solomonster, this is WWE we're talking about again. Nothing makes sense. Oh, I know. You don't have to tell me. You don't have to convince me. I already know that it doesn't make any sense. That doesn't mean that you and I can't sit here and try to figure it all out. Let's take a look at the Twitter poll for the shows tonight. What did you think of the SmackDown before Money in the Bank? Hell of a go-home show. 23% of you gave this show a thumbs up. 76% of you gave this show a thumbs down, as compared to Rampage, which was almost the exact inverse. 77% thumbs up and 22% thumbs down. Get those votes in at Solomonster. I want to hear what you have to say about these shows. Let's take a look at your super chats here, and then we'll get the hell out of here. See what's on your mind here. And thank you to everybody. As I always say, I always thank you guys for your super chat love here on these streams. We got, where are we, by the way? Bear Wolf, are we at 254 as far as the likes? Man, I'm still under the weather, so bear with me. I'm doing better than I was last Friday. Last Friday was me at my worst, but I am still sick. Winter's Paw with the $5 super chat. Dumb question. Just wanted to ask, what version of Peacock do you have? Do you have to have the premium version to stream Money in the Bank, or can I just use the $4.99 one? All you need is the $4.99 one. The only thing is you'll get commercials during that. If you have the premium tier, you will not get commercials. You will get these random WWE profile video packages on wrestlers. That's what we see while you guys are watching commercials. But you don't need the premium tier. As long as you have the regular tier, you're good to go. Naif Al-Safar, thank you for the double super chat. I appreciate that. Thank you very much. C. Moonsault. Did you hear Santana leaving AEW when his contract expires in September? That is the rumor. I'll talk more about Santana on the podcast, because there's been some rumors about him and Ortiz as well, and it's not just what was said this week. I think if you've been paying attention, there's definitely been something going on between the two of them. We'll talk more about that on Sunday. Diarlo, happy Bobby Bonilla Day, Solomonster. Thank you. And Mello, thank you for the sub. Temjin Zephyr, on Rampage, Tony Schiavone and Excalibur mentioned about Yoshi-Hashi becoming the most improved wrestler in the last 5 years. Do you agree? No, I wouldn't say that Yoshi-Hashi is the first name that comes to mind. But I don't see enough of Yoshi-Hashi to be able to say that. That's why I can't tell you that he's the first name that I think of when I think of most improved. John Falchetta. Thank you, John. Party Up Gaming with the $5. So between Austin Theory and Maximum Male Models, they just took everything from Tyler Breeze. Yeah, pretty much. But Tyler Breeze did it better. I was a big fan of Tyler Breeze back when he was first doing his thing in NXT. Those were fun. Those were fun days back then. And see, that was before Triple H indied up NXT. They didn't have all the indie talent there at that point. Tyler Breeze was somebody that they had in their system for about 5 years, and he was one step away from being let go. And, you know, with Triple H's help, they came up with this gimmick, and it just clicked. And, you know, that was back when they were still pushing unknowns, and NXT was still a fun show to watch. But they mixed in some of the main roster guys. They brought up Tyson Kidd, and I mean, it was a fun time. It was a fun time. You had Bo Dallas when he was doing his thing. And yeah, that was fun. When Bo Dallas got literally dragged out of Full Sail, that is still one of the all-time great NXT segments. Groovy Goose, thank you for the $4.99 and the $1.99. Jeff Hardy has pled not guilty on DUI. I am beyond disappointed. I just hope he doesn't put the blame on Willow. Yeah, everybody making a big deal about the not guilty thing, not realizing that's just standard shit. All that does, that's to buy time for the lawyer to build a case for their client. That's all it is. And Groovy Goose says, Happy Canada Day from a Canadian goose. Anti-M Bishop 07, Solomonster, watching SmackDown hurts so much. The booking, LA Knight, rest in peace. I'm totally not watching Money in the Bank tomorrow. Rampage was awesome. Konosuke is great. Konosuke Takeshita. I enjoy watching him. I do. 420. Baked chicken con flavor. I never knew who Bobby Bonilla was. Thank you for the intro. You're very welcome. Diarlo with the 10 spot. Hey, Solo, what did you think about the Phillies' big three of Jimmy Rollins, Ryan Howard, and Chase Utley? Did you like Mets legend R.A. Dickey, the first knuckleball pitcher to win the Cy Young Award? I did like R.A. Dickey. R.A. Dickey was a very smart man. I always enjoyed his post-game interviews. And as far as Rollins and Howard and Chase Utley, I don't really have anything against Rollins or Howard, but fuck Chase Utley. That's what I have to say about Chase Utley. Food Hive, thanks to Solomonster in the chat for making my day. And he says, love how the Battle Royals are truly unpredictable. Nick Eldridge, the next and let's not forget that Food Hive is also into Smurfette porn, just to remind everybody. Nick Eldridge with the $5 super chat. The next Battle of the Belt show is in Grand Rapids on August 5th, and I get to go. Can you venture an early prediction on what matches we might get? I cannot. Off the top of my head, I cannot. I mean, it could be Jon Moxley literally against anybody. The TNT title, I have no idea whether or not they're going to put the title on Wardlow soon. If Jade Cargill defends the TBS title, maybe against either Chris Statlander or a triple threat, maybe with Chris Statlander and Athena. That could be a match on that show. But beyond that, I can't even venture a guess right now. Shin Akuma. Kurt Angle is the MVP of 2002. Yeah, it's hard to disagree with you on that. Be calm, see clearly with the $5. Can you map out this little rain from Mox for me? What? Can you map out this little rain? Tittle rain? Tittle rain? Are you titillated by Jon Moxley's championship reign? Is that what you're saying? Can I map it out? I'll map it out very simply for you. He defends the title and wins a bunch of matches until CM Punk comes out, and the two of them square off and CM Punk beats him. There, I just mapped it out for you. Ken O'Neill, thank you for the sub. Welcome to the channel. Be Calm See Clearly says, yeah, she's a problem, all right. Talking about Marina Shafir. Dr. Scorpio, WWE presents WrestleMania SummerSlam. Diarlo, the new vicious Viking Raiders, the new vicious Highlanders 2.0. Eli Drake is literally a fucking joke. It's a shame now and copying Robbie E's gimmick. Turtlehead, the Raiders just need to carry hammers to get over. Well, they got their shields. I guess they need either swords or hammers, right? And Drew McIntyre's already got the sword. Derek Kane, wow. King vs. Mox, yes please. Joseph Brooks, buy or sell on who had the best one-time reign as WWE champion, meaning the better win and run as champion, Eddie Guerrero or Kofi Kingston? Eddie Guerrero or Kofi Kingston? I know Kofi had the title for 6 months, so it wasn't as if he had a very short run. He had a longer run than Eddie did, actually. But Eddie had the better run. I don't think that could even be debated. Eddie had the better run. Plus Ultra Adrian with the $9.99. Hey, Solomonster, today's my birthday. I'm hoping all is well with you. Hopefully Money in the Bank will be a good show tomorrow. Happy birthday to Plus Ultra Adrian. I hope you did not sit through SmackDown on your birthday. Shin Akuma, July used to be Fully Loaded and then Vengeance. Brock Benningfield. Absence makes the heart grow fonder. I was your typical Cena hater, but I find myself excited about his return to the ring. I'm going to talk about John Cena on the podcast on Sunday. And this whole discussion about him, WWE, of course, is calling him the greatest of all time. And there's been a lot of talk about where he falls on that list, and is he truly the greatest of all time? And we're going to talk about Cena. Not only am I going to talk about Cena on the podcast Sunday, I'm going to talk about a tweet that somebody posted who used to work for WWE that really got under my skin as it relates to John Cena. Really pissed me off. And I'm going to save that for Sunday. Shaquille Oatmeal with the $4.99. Going to the Ring of Honor show in Lowell, Massachusetts, hoping for a solid card. This arena is the same place Joe won the NXT belt years ago. Christian for TNT champion. I remember that. Was it Finn Balor, I think, that he beat for the belt, right? On that show in Lowell? King Bling Blah. Cena wins Money in the Bank. Cena, Roman, Lesnar, three-way at SummerSlam. Well, you can keep dreaming. That's not going to happen. Diarlo. A Solomonster. Do you have old head tendencies sometimes when it comes to wrestling? Like, for example, a wrestler's height and weight and a smaller wrestler versus a bigger wrestler? Or no, it doesn't matter. Like a wrestler's height and weight and a smaller wrestler versus a bigger wrestler, or I don't know what you mean by that first part. Are you talking about them announcing a wrestler's height and weight, or are you just talking about size and do I care if it's a bigger guy against a smaller guy? It doesn't really bother me. I mean, unless it's just, I mean, if you have like a 5'2" guy against a 7'6" guy, that's fucking ridiculous. But generally speaking, no, I don't, it doesn't really bother me. Chadwick, do you know the tweet that I'm talking about? I wonder if you and I are thinking of the same tweet. Darth Panic with the $2. Your thoughts on, I thought that said RuPaul signing with WWE. I'm like, I didn't know that RuPaul signed with WWE, but I'm still sick, and apparently I'm seeing things. I have a horrible cough. It's amazing I haven't coughed once during this stream. It's horrible cough and shortness of breath here. Darth Panic, though, Logan Paul he's talking about. And again, I'm going to talk more about Logan Paul on Sunday. I don't want to give it all away now, but look, I was impressed by Logan Paul at WrestleMania this year. It is sad, though, that we have reached a point where WWE now is going out and they're bringing in these celebrities so often, and now they're signing them. now they're signing them to actual contracts, whereas before, you know, when they would use celebrities, it would be to give the rub to their current talent and to help get over their current talent that they're actually trying to make. And now they've just completely abandoned that. And now it's not about the celebrities really aiding the talent so much. It's about the celebrities. Whether it's Bad Bunny, whether it's Logan Paul. And there's an aspect of that's kind of sad to me. But Logan Paul has an aptitude for this, and I think it's a smart move on their part. I'm not saying it isn't. It's a smart move. They talked about the one picture that he posted on the WWE Instagram page that is already the most viewed photo they've ever put on WWE's Instagram. The guy's got a following. You can't blame WWE for wanting to capitalize on that following. But we'll talk more about that on Sunday. Dev to Dust. This is a Brooklyn-bound F local train. The next stop is West 4th Street, Washington Square. I had to say it in the voice. As I was reading the super chat, I haven't been on the subway in 2.5 years, but and if it's up to me, I'll never ride the subway again. The subway's a fucking mess in this city, but we'll always remember the announcement, the guy's voice in the announcement. This is a Brooklyn-bound Q train. The next stop is Avenue M. Dev to Dust, remember AOPP? Oh, yes, I do. Oh, I remember AOPP. Bet your ass I do. Juan Ocampo, Solomonster is looking like when Corbin went broke. Get a haircut. Also, I can never see Bliss Fan on the chat. Who is Bliss Fan? Bliss Fan is in the chat, I believe, right now. That must mean that Bliss Fan doesn't want to see you. That's why you can't see Bliss Fan. And Paul Heyman. Can we call the team of Swerve Strickland and Keith Lee Strict Lee? No, they're called Swerve in their glory. That's their name. Strict Lee, though. I'll allow that. I'll allow that. You've been more clever in the past with other things, but I'll allow that. Diarlo with the $5. Do you think Keith Hernandez is a Hall of Famer? He's overrated as hell, in my opinion. Well, I believe that Keith Hernandez is a Hall of Famer. So there you go. EJ Slimp missed the show tonight because I was watching. That just got bumped here. He was watching something else. Last season, it was incredible. Well, let me tell you something. Don't do yourself a favor and do not watch SmackDown. Just go back and watch the beginning of this review. I will fill you in on everything you need to know when it comes to SmackDown. Stay far, far away from SmackDown. Marcus the Entertainer. Possible matches for Death Before Dishonor. Gresham against Cage. Brian Cage. Mercedes Martinez against Serena, Wheeler Yuta against Daniel Garcia, and Joe against Lethal. Joe against Lethal is absolutely going to happen. And Martinez and Serena seems pretty likely as well. Gresham probably is going to be in there against Lee Moriarty. They're teaming on TV next week. My guess is Moriarty is going to get that title match. So, I think overall, though, those are some pretty solid guesses, I would say. Pretty solid guesses. That's Death Before Dishonor. That's coming up on July 23rd. Let's get a show of hands in the chat. How many of you are actually going to pay and watch the Ring of Honor pay-per-view? I want to get a sense from the people who are currently on this stream. How many of you are going to pay to watch the Ring of Honor show and plan to watch it on July 23rd? I want to get a sense of what the level of interest is for that Ring of Honor show. Hit that like button, by the way, if you have not already done so. Hit that thumbs up. Takes 2 seconds. Cost you nothing. So EJ says he's going to watch. as will Miguel. And possibly Diarlo Quintus. Dr. Scorpio is on the fence. Bash says no. Lindsay says no. Brock says no. Andre says no. It's a mix, though. There's more no than yes, but there's a bunch of yeses in the chat. I'm not even sure at this point what I'm going to be doing that weekend. So I'll figure it out as we get a little bit closer. Again, we should be getting some news soon on the Ring of Honor front. All right, while you guys chime in and hit that like button, let me go ahead and bring up Be the Booker. We got to do Be the Booker here before we head into the weekend.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is now time to Be the Booker.
Be the Booker. Be the Booker. I'm going to be Bruce. Can I possibly be any worse than Bruce? Can I possibly be any worse than Bruce? I don't think that's possible. Let's begin with the men's Be the Booker and see what great fortune the randomizer brings us tonight. We begin with the, I was going to say, greatest of all time in terms of his peak. I think when you look at stars at their peak of popularity, nobody was hotter than this guy. Stone Cold Steve Austin. Always a great way to start Be the Booker when you got Stone Cold Austin 316 as your first choice. Give me a hell yeah. Let's see. Stone Cold Steve Austin. Gonna go one-on-one with Mr. Brody Lee. Good match, man. That would have been a brawl. That would have been a brawl all over the building back in the Attitude Era. They would have brawled down the aisle into the crowd, back into the ring. There would have been chairs. There probably would have been some blood. I think Stone Cold and Brody Lee would have had themselves a hell of a match. And rest in peace to Brody Lee, Mr. Brody Lee, former TNT champion. Over on the women's side, we begin with the ninth wonder of the world, former Intercontinental Champion, Chyna, who at her peak of popularity was one of the hottest stars in the entire company. Her and Sable both at their peaks. Unless you lived through that era, you have no idea how popular all these people were. Austin, Rock, Sable, Chyna, oh my God. White hot. Chyna gonna go one-on-one with Meiko Satomura, the NXT UK Women's Champion. What do you think? Bell or buzzer? I'm gonna go Bell. I'm gonna go Bell. I think that Meiko would bring Chyna to the best match she's ever had in her entire life. That's what I think. We're 2 for 2 so far, guys. We're heading into Tag Team Be the Booker. We're 2 for 2. We got to go for the hat trick. Has this ever happened since I started doing the Tag Team Be the Booker a couple months ago? Have we ever had a week where I went 3 for 3? I don't believe so. I don't believe so. Let's see. Let's see if we can do it. Let's see if we can pull it off. We begin with Hookhausen. It's Hook, and it's Danhausen. And who will Hookhausen be stepping into the ring with? Hookhausen is undefeated, by the way. They're 1-0 in their AEW career. We've got Hookhausen stepping into the ring with the Powers of Pain. Oh, that's a tough one. I like Hook. Danhausen, I could take or leave. But against the powers of pain, I gotta go buzzer on that. I don't think that's a good match. I think that's a total mismatch. We were so close. We were so close. Hey, but hey, 2 out of 3 ain't bad. 2 out of 3 ain't bad. I just can't, Hookhausen against the powers of pain. I mean, it's an interesting match. It's not a match I ever would have thought to book, but no, I gotta give that the buzzer. I just can't, Danhausen in there with fucking Warlord. I mean, come on. That's ridiculous. Chris Manson, do you think Jade Cargill against Mercedes he's talking about a different Mercedes. He's talking about Mercedes KV. He's talking about Sasha Banks. Do you think Jade and Mercedes KV can main event a pay-per-view a year from now? No. But it could very well be a match that we see a year from now. See that? If you asked me that question, my answer would be yes. Main eventing a pay-per-view? No. Absolutely not. Main eventing a Dynamite? Yes. Not a pay-per-view. You got to remember, AEW, if you take Forbidden Door out of the equation, and I do think there will be a Forbidden Door too, AEW only has 4 pay-per-views a year. That's it. And they're going to need a big main event on those pay-per-views. And Jade Cargill against Mercedes KV is not going to be that main event. If they had a pay-per-view each month the way WWE does, I still don't think it would be a pay-per-view main event, let alone they only have 4 shows a year. Absolutely not. But we could very well be seeing that match in the future. Skywalker, do you think that Nikita Lyons is going to make it to WWE Raw? And he says, shout out to my boy, Bobby Bonilla. Well, if she keeps progressing the way that she is, then probably yes. I think she will make it to Monday Night Raw. Food Hive, how significant was Brody Lee, his AEW run to his legacy? If he never went to AEW or showed his personality on being the elite, would his legacy be different? I believe it would be. I think it would be. And I think that it was very cool that, as brief as it was, that he did have that run that he had with the TNT title and that big dominant win, the way that he, beat Cody Rhodes. And he had a chance with the Dark Order to be a leader for the first time in his career. Instead of a follower like he was in the Wyatt family, he got to lead his own group. And again, his run was not nearly long enough. But I do think that it, added to his legacy, and it showed a side of him that we really never got to see, personality-wise, in WWE. He even got a pay-per-view main event. He got to challenge for a world championship against Jon Moxley, and they had a hell of a match. Better than I expected it to be. So I think it definitely improved his legacy. And I think, that's the one good thing about him, at least making it to AEW and having that run. It sucks that, literally the week that he was going to make his big debut in his hometown on Dynamite, the pandemic happened. And so he didn't get that chance. And it sucks that he passed away before he could ever perform in front of a full AEW audience. He never got the chance to perform in front of an actual live crowd in AEW. And that is the thing that, about his run that I think is the most unfortunate, is that he never had that chance. But I definitely think he got to show a side of himself that a lot of people didn't get to see in WWE. And so at least, he was able to do that. And again, it's not always the case that people will be showered with love from talent in both companies the way that he was by people not only in AEW but in WWE as well. People genuinely love the guy. The people that knew him were friends with him, and they had not a bad word to say about him. And he got a lot of love from a lot of people in and out of AEW, and that doesn't always happen that way. Hindsight says that he beats Moxley for the championship. Now that wouldn't have been the right move. It was the right outcome to the match. I mean, you could say hindsight, it would have been nice for him to get a run with it. I mean, yeah, it would have been nice for him, but it was not the right move at the time to make. Moxley was the right choice. Am I talking about Joey Ryan on the podcast? No, I'm not going to waste any time on Joey Ryan. I don't care about his employment status. It doesn't affect me. It has nothing to do with wrestling. I have zero interest in talking about Joey Ryan. Yeah, the Brody Lee tribute, that is still the best episode of Dynamite that they've ever done. And the Brody Lee tribute was very, very well done. And I will stand by what I said even at the time. So I don't just say this because he died and, of course, he passed away. And so now hindsight. No, I said at the time what a mistake it was to not add him to the WrestleMania match with Randy Orton and Bray Wyatt. At least if he was in that match may have had a chance of actually being good. That was a fucking missed opportunity is what that was. Not including him in their match at WrestleMania 33 was a huge mistake. Hibiki. It's been a long time since I've seen that WCW Slamboree Legends reunion show. I honestly don't I don't remember too much about it. So I can't really give you my thoughts. It's been a very long time since I've watched that. Yes, THQ Nordic is going to be the publisher of the AEW Fight Forever game. So THQ and Ukes coming back together. Just like old days, huh? Maybe with the All Atlantic Championship, Andrade will get more TV time. I feel like we've been saying that about Andrade now for months. And he still barely gets any TV time at all. Am I talking about the Forbidden Door that we got on Raw? I will mention that, yes, on the podcast on Sunday. I will mention that. Please make the AEW game like WrestleMania 2000 control-wise. I thought most people wanted it to be like No Mercy on the N64. I mean, we shouldn't have to wait too much longer. I mean, the way that Kenny Omega, when he talks about it, I think the hope is still there that that game can be potentially done before the end of the year. Am I a fan of house music? I like Daft Punk, says Diarlo. Yes, I am. I like Daft Punk as well. And ATB. ATB is a good one as well. Paul Oakenfold. Yeah, I used to be into all that stuff. What is my favorite wrestling game of all time? WrestleFest, the arcade game. Where is this stuff about Dynamite? People thinking Dynamite should be 3 hours. Who would even suggest such a thing? I'm not saying they don't have enough talent to warrant more television time. Dynamite does not need to be 3 hours. I do have no interest in seeing a 3 hour weekly Dynamite, and I think Tony Khan is smart enough not to do that. So I wish people would stop suggesting that and would stop. Like, I see it on Twitter sometimes. I wish people would just stop with the 3 hour Dynamite talk. Like, that is a terrible, terrible idea. I have no interest in 3 hours of Dynamite every week, any more than I have interest in 3 hours of Raw. Even if Dynamite was a better show, I still have no interest in 3 hours of Dynamite. That is overkill. Does not need to be 3 hours. I see that occasionally, people mentioning that, and I saw it again tonight. I don't know what these people are smoking, but they've got to put the pipe down. You want to give television to Ring of Honor, you want to give television to more talent, then you know what? Come up with a separate show. Do not want to see 3 hours of Dynamite. That would kill Dynamite if they did that. At least for me. WWE does it. They get more money out of it from USA. I have no interest in seeing it. Yeah, Elijah, that's a good point. This month, we just entered the month of July. Do you realize that it was July of 2012 when Monday Night Raw, we had Raw 1000, and Raw went permanently to 3 hours on a weekly basis? Because up to that point, we had occasional 3 hour Raws. They were like special Raws. Even the night that the Nexus, that they did that great Nexus invasion angle in the main event, that was a special 3 hour episode of Raw. They would do King of the Ring sometimes. That would be a special 3 hour edition of Raw. It was July of 2012. It was 10 years ago this month that Raw permanently moved to 3 hours. We have now had 10 years of 3 hour Raws, and somehow they have gotten progressively worse year over year. Oni, the 3 hour Raw was a USA idea. That was not a WWE idea. That was a USA Network decree. Didn't Sid attack Heath Slater on that Raw? That might have been the one. He did attack Heath Slater. I don't remember if it was that night or not, but it was around that time they brought in Vader and they brought in Sid, and I think Lita also. Didn't Lita wrestle, or she hit a moonsault, I think, on Heath? Heath was being beaten up by all the legends every week. A decade of destruction. That's a good way of putting it, yes. It's been a decade. It has been. It really has been. To the audience, it has been. When you see how the audience has eroded over the last 10 years, it's been a decade of destruction with the 3 hour Raws. Yeah, I don't remember where it was. It might have been, it could have been something Meltzer mentioned in an old conversation he had with Vince, or maybe Vince said something in an interview. I wish I could remember where it was from, but I vaguely remember many, many, many years ago, supposedly Vince McMahon said that he believed the perfect length for a show, or for Raw, would be 90 minutes. And I agree with that. I still agree with that to this day. 90 minutes would be perfect. But he did what USA wanted him to do. So if they got extra money, he took the money and he did what he was told. And, we have 3 hours of Raw. Here we are now, 10 years later. Do Vince and Sid have heat? I would imagine not. I mean, they brought Sid back a number of years ago to do a cameo, so they can't be that much heat there. 10-year anniversary of Solomonster reviewing Sid against Heath. Yeah, I've been doing this podcast now for so long that we could start doing the anniversary of Solomonster reviewing, XYZ, whatever it might be. Solomonster 10 years later reviewing this, and 12 years later, Solomonster reviews that. No, Sid is not in the Hall of Fame. Food Hive. I stopped watching wrestling in 2009. I watched 3 times after that. Coincidentally, it was the Pipe Bomb promo, the Raw Walkout, and the Snowstorm Royal Rumble Raw. That was a good show. Rhea Ripley is hurt. Rhea Ripley is dealing with a concussion, and she had her teeth knocked in by her own knee. She got DDT'd on TV several weeks ago, and she kind of rolled over in selling the move, but she was very close to the ropes, and her knee bounced right back in her face and loosened her teeth, and she had to have surgery and braces put on, but she apparently kneed herself so hard, she also gave herself a brain injury, so she's out for the time being. Who do I think will win the Money in the Bank briefcase? I already talked about that. What is the official hurt list count? It's too long. It's too long to remember all the names. All right, again, at Solomonster on Twitter is the place where you guys can go. You can vote in the polls. And again, tomorrow night, Money in the Bank review. Come back here live as soon as the pay-per-view is over. I will be here with the full recap for you guys. And then, of course, Sunday will be episode 763 of the Solomonster Sounds Off on Spreaker, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and all the usual places where you listen to the main show. Still the show. It is the A show after all these years. The full podcast every Sunday. You guys know the drill. And by the way, it would also help out the show a lot if you hopped on Apple Podcasts and dropped a review. You could also leave comments. Don't forget, each episode that goes up on Spreaker, you can like those shows and leave comments underneath. But if you want to leave a review in Apple, that will help the show out. You can leave a star rating in Spotify. We've got a lot of those on there. So all those things help out the podcast, and I very much appreciate it. So I will see you guys. Let me come back here. There we go. There I am. I will see you guys tomorrow night. Until then, be well, stay safe, enjoy your July 4th holiday if I do not talk to you before then. Of course, we are heading into the July 4th holiday, so whatever you may be doing, hopefully you're going to barbecue and you're going to have some hot dogs and hamburgers and all that good stuff. Wings, maybe. Enjoy some food, stay safe, whatever you're doing, and I'll see you for the Money in the Bank review tomorrow night. Take care, guys. Liquid Sharingan, thank you for the $2. Says, I think Archer is a New Japan talent. Actually, I think Archer might be a free agent at this point, or working on a per appearance deal. I don't believe he is officially a New Japan talent, although maybe he signed something with them. I don't know, but thank you, Liquid Sharingan. Again, I'll see you guys for the Money in the Bank review tomorrow night. and Food Hive. How did I miss? I almost missed Food Hive's other super chat. I stopped watching WWE when they fumbled Miz versus Bryan. Oh, you can make a whole laundry list of all the things that WWE has fumbled, my friend. I'm surprised that was the one that got you. There have been a lot of things that they have fumbled. All right, I'm going to fumble my way on out of here. Take care. I know what Food Hive's going to be doing tonight. Enjoy Smurfette.